Welcome to Parish and Community. My special guest today is Cliff Pittman. Cliff, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Angela. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me how you first got involved with College Church.
Well, how I first got involved with College Church, that's a great question. It was about 10 or 11 years ago now that I started going to College Church. I was actually in the process of going through the RCIA program back in Virginia where I used to live. I was going to St. Mary's of Sorrows in Fairfax, Virginia. And then I moved back over to the St. Louis area, and I was trying to find a good church community to pick up where I left off in the RCIA program. And a good friend of mine here in the St. Louis region was just like, you should try out College Church. They have a great program. They actually went through the RCIA program, gosh, before they got married, like I would say about 20, 30 years ago, and they had great things to say. And so I went and met with Joe Milner, who he heads up the RCIA program, and been part of the St. Francis Xavier community since then, since I joined fully into the church in 2010.
That's really cool. I think that Joe has impacted a lot of lives that way, hasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
And now you've taken the further elements, which is how I know you, because I've seen you up on the altar, of being an acolyte. So what inspired you to take on that responsibility?
So there's a fun story that kind of got me involved with acolyting. There's this, she's in heaven now, but this wonderful angel, why can't I think of her? Linda Palazzolo. She used to be the director of liturgy before
Sister Carolyn?
Sister Carolyn took the role. And I was sitting there one day during the 5:15 Mass, and she just came walking over to me, and she goes, you know what? You'd be great as an acolyte. You start training on next Saturday. Okay, sounds good. And then, as they say, the rest was history. I've been acolyting now basically since the entire time I've been a Catholic, so going on a little over 11 years now.
That's fantastic. Well, she was right. You do well.
Yep.
How do you spend your time when you're not at College Church?
Spending my time not at College Church, well, like most people do, I work a typical 8-hour work day. I work for BJC Healthcare. But outside of work and everything, I like to go to concerts, hang out with friends, watch movies, cook. But more importantly, as you can probably tell by the type of shirt I'm wearing, I like to golf.
Aha!
I kind of picked golf back up at the start of the pandemic. Hadn't played it in, like 10, 15 years, and just getting back into the swing of playing golf. And it's been a big part of my life the past year and a half now.
Do we have a good golf scene in St. Louis? I don't know anything about it.
It's really nice. We have quite a few like courses, and a lot of courses here in the St. Louis area are actually written up in a lot of the Golf Digest stuff as having the top courses in the U.S. I know quite a few of them are private country clubs, but there are some out there that are public courses where you can get out that are listed in the top 100 courses, and especially a lot of the top 10 in Missouri are actually located here in the St. Louis region.
That's nice. I had no idea at all. So how do you describe College Church if you're out with your golfing buddies and they go, oh, tell me about that place? Or when you run into folks that don't know anything about our community, what kind of descriptors do you put on it?
Well, what I say is, if you want a church that is all-inclusive and welcoming, no matter where you are in your life or however you see yourself or identify as, College Church is the place to go for you, especially if you're a Catholic and you go to, like, you've been going to a more conservative church. Like going into College Church, I feel like we're more open and welcoming to any walks of life than most churches. So that's what I always tell people. If you want to go into something a little different, College Church is the way to go. because we do things just a little differently. We're not as strict and stringent as the bigger churches and stuff. So that's usually what I tell folks when I walk into them about college church.
So you mentioned before you're not a credo Catholic. So tell me about steps in your faith journey that have been significant for you.
Well, so that's a great question. So I was raised Southern Baptist and went through that whole thing. But when I was growing up, like I went to Catholic high school, like out east in Virginia, and I've always kind of been drawn to the Catholic faith. And once I started getting a little older and kind of in my college years, and then a good friend of mine was, I was the best man in his wedding. He was starting to have creating a family of his own, and he asked if I would like to be a godfather to one of his kids.
Oh.
And he always knew that I wanted to become Catholic at some point in life, and he threw out that stipulation where if you want to be the godparent to one of my children, you have to become Catholic. That's their one stipulation.
That's great.
And because I know you've been thinking about going to RCA, like he went through the program as well when he got married to his wife. And so I was just like, you know what? Like I've been putting this off for like 5 years now. Might as well go and just go to a couple informational sessions and see where it leads. And that kind of has been my journey. The year after I joined the church, I sponsored both of my parents into the church, and they came through as well. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Oh, that's so sweet. But that's a great a carrot there. If you want to be a godparent, we'll have to keep that in mind for other folks. Who are some holy men or women who inspire you?
Oh, that's a challenging question. I know the one that a lot of people go to, and I go to it as well, is Pope Francis. I feel what he has done to like reinvigorate a lot of the Catholics that kind of stopped going to church, and he started getting them back into church and reigniting people's faith journeys. Like he's been quite an inspiration to me. Other than that, Saint Peter, the apostle, is one of my, like he's the saint name that I took on when I was confirmed into the church, because he's like everyone else. Like he had his doubts, he had his disbeliefs, but no matter what his call, when it came down to it, was he believed that Christ was his savior, and he started following that. Yeah, he kind of denied him a few times and kind of had some questions like, are you really who you say you are? But when it all came down to it, he was the guy that was always there to support and was always the first to act when needed.
Yeah, that's great pick. Cliff, thank you again for taking some time today. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely.